Hello vinyl lovers, Uncle Roddus back again with a vinyl video, and this is kind of like a part 2 of Flying Nun. So I put out the Flying Nun video just recently, which was after I went to see the Flying Nun art display at the gallery, celebrating 40 years of Flying Nun, my t-shirt again. So there was a bunch of Flying Nun originals came up on Trade Me. They've been coming up because this guy's trying to sell them, but he's got some big prices on them because he paid big prices for them, and a lot. You know, he's one of these guys who's been just bidding on stuff, New Zealand stuff and Flying Nun stuff, and paying really ridiculous prices. And now he's trying to sell it. So I don't know. Not many people are looking at it. Not many people are buying, but he had 5 of them on there, and I really wanted them, and I bid the bottom price because the bottom price that he had, like he had a buy now price, he always had a bottom bid price of a few dollars less, $10, $20 less. And so I put those bottom bids in, and I won all 5 auctions because nobody's buying his records. Everyone thinks he's way too pricey. So I wasn't going to bid on them because if anyone else had bid, they just become too expensive. So, you know, I did pay a lot of money for these, but I did look on Discogs, and I'm paying probably about what I would be paying if I had to get them shipped from overseas or bought overseas. So Flying Nun is very collectible records. So yeah, but I'm just absolutely loving it. And I mean, so I did my recent Flying Nun tribute video. So anyway, carrying on from that, there are 2 new Flying Nun records that have turned up. One is a brand new record just released, and one is a reissue of another Flying Nun from the 90s. I'll get to those soon. I did cash in my bonus points at Flying Out in the last week or 2, and picked up about 3 or 4 records that way, plus another 3 or 4 records that I bought on as well at the same time. So I'll whip through those first. This is actually I've got one non-New Zealand, and I'll go through that one first, and this is it here. If you can try and get the reflection off it. So this is the 2021 Art Yard Strut reissue of Sun Ra's Languidity. Yeah, I've got it on CD. I've actually got the Art Yard CD reissue. They did it in the box with a whole bunch of other Sun Ra stuff. But you know, it's kind of nice to have some Ra on vinyl. So yeah, this is just turned up via from their Bandcamp. I bought it from their Bandcamp site. I've only actually had a chance to play it once, but like I say, cool to have some more Sun Ra on vinyl. So that is brand new reissue just come out. Okay, Maxine Funk. Yeah, this is my first Maxine Funk record. I'm quite familiar with her because Chris plays a lot of her stuff on his podcast, his Counting the Beat New Zealand Music podcast on vinyl, and it's very lo-fi, folksy sort of stuff. But there's a couple of tracks. One he played off this like I quite like. So I thought I'd give it a go. So this is basically this year. This is her latest LP. She's got about 3 albums and a few bunches of singles, all on vinyl. Colourful Storm is the record label. This is from 2021. The album's called Seance. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, reissue. I finally jumped on this. So Super Groove. This is their 1993 LP. Self-titled. Fraction. God, I'm trying to read it. Not easy. Doesn't actually say that anywhere on the cover, does it? Fraction. So, from memory, this was their first LP. I had this on CD. I actually bought it on CD at the time of release in 1993. And then I sold it later on. I don't know. I got a bit tired of it. There was a song. The big song for me was You Freak Me. That's a real heavy riff monster. You know, really sort of Black Sabbath riff. But, yeah, really cool song. Anyway, so for whatever reason, I sold the CD many years ago. This was reissued in last year or the year before on black vinyl, I think. This is a Warner's Brother reissue. Yeah, didn't really bother with it at the time. Then this turned up the red vinyl issue just turned up recently, so this is a reissue of the reissue basically, but on the red vinyl, really nice vinyl. So I thought I'd jump on it. I used my points to buy it, so I didn't really actually pay for it per se. But yeah, it's not bad. These guys have got for people not familiar, they're very real Red Hot Chili Peppers vibe to them, but there's also kind of a rap vibe to it. They were pretty big in New Zealand in the day actually. I mean, there's some songs on here. Actually, I don't remember the titles of them now, but there were some pretty big hits that got a lot of airplay on local television and radio. So that's a reissue, and this is a brand new LP out by Shehad. This is their latest thing, Old Gods. Also on a coloured vinyl, this is on this deep translucent red. This looks really cool. So yeah, this is, I haven't been, okay, I'm a bit, Shehad's a big band in New Zealand. They're a big hard rock, heavy metal band, you know, been going for 30 years, but don't have a lot of records in that 30 years. They've probably got less than 10 LPs all up, maybe, but they are pretty much one of our biggest bands. I didn't hear their last LP. I didn't even realise there was one out. I think it got about 2014, just before I started collecting vinyl again. I have picked up two of the reissues, the 20th anniversary reissues of two of their albums. I don't play them a lot. I'm not a big fan. This is pretty good. I mean, I'm enjoying this. Maybe I'll get familiar with it. I'll enjoy it some more. Chris made the comment that he thought that the previous album is much better than this, and this one he sort of wasn't too sure about. But I mean, I'm quite liking it. So, but there are two bands in New Zealand that kind of, I guess you could call them a bit like, I don't know if they compete with each other or that, but to me, it's like Shehad fans, and then there's Head Like a Hole fans. Head Like a Hole are a fucking awesome band. They are my favourite. So kind of like Beatles and the Rolling Stones. You know, I'm more into the Beatles. I like the Rolling Stones. They've got some good LPs. I've got a few of their stuff, but I'm not a big Rolling Stone fan. But I do love the Beatles. They are just astonishing. Well, this is the same. Head Like a Hole are astonishing. This is the Rolling Stones of New Zealand hard rock. Okay, I finally bit the bullet and bought the new Lord LP. I hope I don't get a ban for showing this cover. It's a bit risque, although it is actually a cover imitation of another cover from a record someone posted on Facebook with a similar setup, except that instead of basically naked legs, they were kind of like stars. Solar Power is the name of this record. I didn't jump on her second LP. I mean, her first LP, obviously the one that catapulted her into the stratosphere as far as fame and fortune is concerned. I really liked it. It had some good, especially the hits were really good and they were fresh. But I mean, I don't generally go for commercial music, as you know. Didn't go for her next LP. I figured it was going to just be pretty much, you know, pop diva stuff. You know, she made the big money, made the big hits, got famous, and then let's put out a record that's going to sell a shitload of material. This one here, she's kind of backtracked a bit, and she's kind of put something out I think that she wants to do. It's still pretty poppy. It's still very accessible. I only listened to it a couple of times, but there's been a couple of songs on high rotation on the podcast I've been listening to. So they're quite interesting. So yeah, that'll take a bit more. And here's another one that's interesting to me. This is Anthony Tonin. Leave Love Out of This. Now, this guy, this could be his third LP, I think, his second or third, but I had seen his other one around. This is just the black version. There are coloured variants, apparently. And I saw him live supporting Don McGlashan at the Rangiora Town Hall a couple of 3 years ago, and I wasn't impressed. And I'd heard a couple of songs, and again, I wasn't impressed, but there was a track that, well, the title track, I think, Leave Love Out of This, was... Chris played that on one of his lockdown podcasts, and it was actually, and it's really grown on me, so I jumped on the record, and so I haven't really played much of it, so we'll have to see. Right, so to the Flying Nun stuff. Okay, so yes, Flying Nun's 40th anniversary. So I showed recently a brand new Flying Nun record, the latest release, and that catalogue number was Flying Nun FN601. Well, I'm not sure whether this came out before or after that, because this is actually FN600, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, just confirm that. This is Flying Nun 600. Brand new release on the coloured vinyl from a lady called, what is her? Vera Allen. Okay, this one is on really cool sort of orangey pinky sort of thing, orange. So Vera Allen, I know nothing about her. So this is, I believe, her very first LP. She is, people are familiar with Courtney Barnett. This is really like her. She sounds a lot like Courtney when she sings, actually, like Courtney Barnett. Similar mannerisms in the way she sings. And I don't know, maybe she's an ex-Australian living in New Zealand, because she's got that. Yeah, really does sound like there's something in there. Download card. Oh no, that's unusual. A download card for a Flying Nun release. They don't normally have them. A lot of Flying Nun releases, well, certainly the reissues, very rarely do they have a download card, but I guess they're more newer ones. So I've only played this once so far, but there is a couple of tracks that I've heard quite frequently on my phone from the podcast that I've been listening to. There's a couple of tracks of hers played on that. So, this is cool. I do like it. I'm a bit disappointed that it sounds so much like Courtney Barnett, so it's not quite so original sounding. I don't know if she's doing that deliberately or whether that's just one of those things, because sometimes people sound the same. Okay, and then on to the reissue, the 3Ds, the Venus Trail LP. What was this, their second LP? Second or third record? So I got several of these on their albums. Well, I got most of their stuff on CD. I've got the combination CD with the two EPs that they released. And then I've got this LP and the Hells A Poppin' LP. The Hells A Poppin', as in this, is where they got the Hells A Poppin' on the t-shirt here for the name of the gallery display exhibition. So I've only played this once, and someone made the comment that they thought it sounded a bit flat, and I must admit that I wasn't paying a lot of attention to it as I was playing it, because I was busy. I just stuck it on because I always just get a record and I play it straight away because I want to hear it, but I might not be that focused on it, doing enough stuff. But I didn't feel like I was getting really involved in it either, so that will be interesting. So that's happened before. I've had another reissue that came out, not a Flying Nun one, but another New Zealand one of a famous record that I already had the original of, and when I played the new version, although the new version was expanded, had extra tracks, I found that it wasn't so engaging, and it's not something that I could really put my pin down and describe that well. Hay fever time. So there was just something like it had been, some of the oomph had been sucked out of it. It still sounded sonically pretty good and everything. It wasn't like it was bad recordings or anything. It's just something. So this could be the same, but I don't know. I was actually listening to this on headphones. No, did I? Actually, I was listening to it on headphones, but I wasn't really focusing. I was reading. I was doing something, shit, Facebooking and crap. So I need to play that in. Anyway, reissue. So awesome New Zealand band. The 3Ds are a fantastic New Zealand band. I saw them once live. I knew about them back in the 90s when they first came out, and I was familiar with some of their songs because they got a pretty good rotation on student radio back in the time. But I saw them live, and I wasn't actually there to see them. I was there to see Pavement. Pavement came to New Zealand in 1990, I think, or 91. I went and saw them at a big pub in Christchurch in the central city, in the square, Warner's Hotel, famous pub in Christchurch. The 3Ds blew them off the stage. I mean, this is the Pavement, who were touted in the NME as the greatest live band on the planet at the time, and they said that many times. And I bought their first album. I was really into it. I mean, they had, if you were into The Fall, you were into Pavement. The 3Ds absolutely floored me. They absolutely floored me. I I can't even remember much about Pavement at all. I just absolutely was just stunned by the 3Ds. They had just come back from America too, and they've been touring, so they were hot. Right. So, trade me. So yeah, I picked up. No, I wanted to pick up the new Bowie set. The new Bowie set that's due for release next month. The 5th box set. Really keen to get my hands on that. I'm not familiar with that as part of Bowie's career at all, but I understand there is some pretty good stuff there that I've never explored. So, and also it's really rare to get that stuff on vinyl now in that period. So I'm very keen. So in the end, it's like, wow, man, it was really pricey. I mean, they're selling it for $900 here in New Zealand. I've seen on a couple of websites. I'm not paying $900 for a box set. So I know that I was paying $400 maybe for the other box sets or plus thereabouts. They had what, 13, 14 records in them. This one's got 18 records. So I had a chat to my wholesalers because I get bonus points from my wholesalers for buying electrical equipment, and I hadn't cashed it in for a year, and I had quite a bit of money there. So I said, look, I want to buy some records. So how do we want to go about it? And so they basically gave me the money. And I went on and I bought the Bowie set. I've ordered it, pre-ordered. It'll be here next month. I'll be here probably by Christmas, fingers crossed. And then they had all these auctions that I wanted to get. And so I didn't actually have to pay for these directly, but I won all those 5 auctions. I mean, I did pay, I paid nearly 3 figures for all of these albums. Not all of them, but, that's what it is for Flying Nun originals. A lot of them, a lot of them are $400 or $500. There's some that I will probably never own unless they get reissued, like the Scorched Earth Policy, the Victor Dimish Band, their EPs, the Belong to Psy, which I used to have one of their EPs back in the early days. They go for $300 to $400 now. So even the Flesh EP by Children's Hour, which is one I used to own back in the day, I'd really like to get my hands on again. I got outbid on Trade Me. I stopped at $120, because for an 6-track EP, that's probably more than enough. And the other one is the Alpaca Brothers again. I bidded on that. That went over $100. That was another one I had back in the day, and I'd love to get it again. But I'm really keen on the Flying Nun right now, and I'm really glad to be able to pick some up. And this is what's playing behind us in the background. The In Love with These Times. Now this, I think, was about the 10th anniversary compilation that the Flying Nun released back in 1991 to celebrate their 10th anniversary. What they need to do is put out a nice big fat double LP compilation to celebrate their 40th anniversary. Now that would be really cool, I mean, perhaps a few tracks that are really hard to get on vinyl, like 45s and that, because some of their stuff just goes for massively big money. The earlier singles, they go for thousands, and it's not because just for the records. There is a lot of that's to the artwork. They were screen prints, special screen prints. Anyway, blah blah blah. This is what's playing behind me. This is a fucking awesome compilation. Really impressed. Some absolute classics, a couple that I'm not quite so familiar with. So the Dunedin side, you might say, is side 1, which are pretty much all Dunedin bands. Yeah, they are too. Just about all Dunedin bands. John Paul Sartre and the Bats. Well, the Bats, you could be called Dunedin, Christchurch. But yeah, Straight Jacket, Look Blue, Go Purple, Sneaky Feelings of Flames, they're all Dunedin. Side 2 is a bit more darker with Belter Space, Headless Chickens, Able Tasmans. Actually, that's pretty much Auckland, apart from Belter Space. The Skeptics from the North Island, Snapper with Dunedin, and Tall Dwarfs. Yeah, awesome compilation. And then I managed to pick up this one, Tall Dwarfs. The long and the short of it is from 1985. That's the short and the long of it. Sorry, that is the short. So this is a 45 RPM side. Nothing's going to happen and nothing's going to stop it. That's 2 tracks. So I mean that's 2 versions of the same song. I haven't actually played it through yet. And then 10 songs on the other side. So yeah, 85. I think this came out, and this has got an original. This is pretty cool. It's got this little kind of booklet in the gatefold thing here. Some probably Chris's artwork. And then, yeah, so this is an original Flying Nun, and then there's this one here. I don't know what this was all about. This was inside. I just found it before. So, yeah, these are pretty hard to find, and that, although, yeah. So I've managed to pick up all but one of the Tall Dwarfs EPs, original EPs, pretty well, a couple of reissues, but reissues from back in the day. Managed to pick most of them up. They're pretty cool. So, really pleased to have that one. And then these two are the ones that got me bidding, really got my interest in the seller who was selling them, and I've really been wanting these for a long time. And yeah, these are pretty expensive. Mary and the Atom, Yellow, Red Aloud. This was their first EP, 1983. Yeah, this is, now I think these are, no, I was going to say, I thought this was an all-woman band, but there is bass guitar John, percussion Lee. Is that Lee as in a girl Lee or a boy Lee? Anyway, this is a really kind of esoteric, atmospheric, alternative, really friggin' good, So yeah, these are pretty hard to come by. These were on display at the Flying Nun display, exhibition, so really pleased to have that, and it's never been reissued in any form whatsoever. And this is their second EP from a couple of years later, maybe. There is a release between these two, but it was a cassette-only release. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with anything off this one, but I was familiar with at least one track off this one that was on one of my compilations. And finally, and really pleased to have a copy of this again. The Cleans, great sounds great, good sounds good, so-so sounds so-so, bad sounds bad, and rotten sounds rotten. Yes, that is the name of this record. This is an original Flying Nun EP. This was something like the 4th or 5th release on Flying Nun. I mean, there was the Pin Group's first single, the Tally Ho single by The Clean, the Boodle EP, which is heading a reissue, which I have ordered. 2 copies of, actually. I've ordered 2 copies because one is a coloured vinyl and one's like a marble coloured vinyl with I don't know why I did that. I still would like an original. I don't have it at the moment, but I do have the music off it on the anthology compilation. But this is the one. I can't remember whether I had a copy of Boodle. I'm pretty familiar with the songs on it, but I don't know. But I definitely had a copy of this back in my youth. And the reason I had a copy of this was because one night when I was like about, it must have been 1982 roughly when this came out. So what was I, 15 in the 5th form at high school? We used to watch Radio Pictures religiously every Sunday night. One night they played a song called Beatnik by The Clean, and that was absolutely awesome. And I used to have a little top-loading cassette, and I used to sit it in front of the TV, and I used to record really cool songs off it. I remember recording like Stiff Little Fingers and that. But I recorded this, and we'd all go back to school the next day, and other guys might have recorded different songs, and we'd play them to each other that we were liking and blah, blah, blah. And it was an amazing show. Big influence on us. So this EP I bought at the time, and this is absolutely stunning, far out. For nearly 40 years later, and this sounds awesome, really awesome. I mean, I know the song so well. I played this to death when I was young. I really liked it. Yeah, my mates were into Beatnik, but they weren't particularly into the Clean themselves so much. So, wow, what a great EP this is. And you know, between this and the Boodle, I mean, these two EPs and this band, this is what really made Flying Nun. Flying Nun would never have probably come to what they have come to without the Clean. I mean, you know, Roger started the band, the label partly because of the Clean, and even though it wasn't the first record he put out, you know, it was the second record, and that put them on the map. And then the Boodle EP put them in the charts and got them going. And so, you know, if it wasn't for those guys, there wouldn't be a lot of this music available. Maybe, who knows? I mean, you know, we can't say for sure what would have happened otherwise, but massive record. Really pleased to have it. And if I can afford it, pick one up for a reasonable price. I will pick up the Boodle, even though I've ordered the reissue. Right, my voice is starting to croak, so I'm going to stop blabbing because we're at 25 minutes. Sorry to keep you so long. Hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you again next time. Cheers.